Hey everyone, in one of my past videos, I talked about the astrological houses. This is kind of a continuation of that video in that that video was about the meaning of the houses. This video will be about each house cusp. And you can see the chart that I have here. A lot of astrologers will refer to the first house cusp as the ascendant. You can call it the first house cusp if you want, either one is fine. But across from that is what is called the descendant, or the seventh house cusp. And then at the top you have the midheaven, which is the 10th house cusp. And below is the Nadir, which is the fourth house cusp. You don't really need to know these, but if you're going to teach this type of video, then I have to put these in here so you hear these terms because they're used by astrologers. But in this video, we're just going to talk about what each cusp represents and what it means. And so if you look at the first house here, you can see the planet Mars. So I'm just going to show you a chart real quick, and I'll show you what I mean. This is actor Matt Damon's chart, and you can see his Mars up here in the 7th house, and it's very close to the 8th house cusp. But if we look at Mars in a chart, this is an area where someone's going to have a lot of energy, a lot of initiative. So if someone has Mars in the 7th house, they're probably going to get married. They're going to be motivated to go through life with another person. They're not going to go through life alone. But let's just go back to my other chart here. When you see the first house cusp, it's sort of another Mars it is another Mars in your chart. And that's how you should see it. Any planet that is near the ascendant is going to be energized. It's like having a Mars conjunction to that planet. So again, if you go back and watch my videos about the meaning of planets and houses and signs, you'll understand this is a very strong energetic point in a chart. The reality here is all of these cusps are energized in some way, but Mars is particularly fiery. Lots of initiative, as we've talked about before. The second house cusp is sort of like another Venus in your chart. And we're going to talk about this one in Matt Damon's chart in a minute. But this house cusp is going to tell us a lot about income, what your earning potential is, your skills, your self-worth. Again, we've talked about that in the house video. Moving to the next, the third house obviously will involve Mercury. The third house cusp will tell us about your intelligence. Planets that are going to be conjunct or opposing or aspecting this cusp will have a lot of meaning. It's going to tell us about how you've either struggled with schooling or it's been it's one of your strengths. And then we're going to move on to the fourth house. Again, the fourth house is all about family and home. Aspects to this cusp are going to tell us something about your home life or your childhood. Next is the fifth house cusp, which is going to be represented by the sun. It's like another sun in your chart. This is a very strong point for a lot of people because it's going to tell us about your personality, your ability to go out and make friendships and connections with people who are like-minded. Also, children will show up here, your relationship to your kids and that kind of thing. Next is Ceres. This is the work environment. Aspects here will tell us your experience in the workplace. Do you get along with employers, employees, coworkers, or are there problems? This cusp will tell us at least part of the story on that one. The descendant, the 7th house cusp, will tell us about marriage. Again, aspects to this point very important in terms of your experience in marriage. 8th house cusp. You can see the planet Vader here, which I've talked about a lot in other videos, as I have Compania in the 7th house. These two planets are not discovered yet, but I believe that they are in our solar system, and I've talked about where they are. The 8th house cusp is all about your personal power, how you treat people. Are you manipulative? Are you trying to overpower people? And obviously that's the negative side of the 8th house and Scorpio. Or are you using your power to lift people up? and help people in some way. This is the choice all of us have with the eighth house. But anyhow, this point is going to tell us that story. The ninth house cusp obviously is going to involve Jupiter and our higher interests. If you have lots of aspects to this point, you probably have lots of interests, hobbies and that kind of thing that you spend a lot of time with. Fourth house cusp, or sorry, the 10th house cusp is called the midheaven. And this is a point of career. Any aspect being made to the 10th house is going to tell us about your career in some way. The 11th house cusp, Uranus, this is a search for truth. It has a lot to do with groups and belonging to groups in our search for truth. Aspects to this point are going to tell us your experience with that. This is also astrology. If you study astrology, as you're watching this video, you probably have a Uranus aspect or a planet in Aquarius making an aspect to this point in your chart. Anyhow, the 12th house cusp, this is the house of Neptune. So any planet making aspect to this cusp is going to tell us about how creative you are. It's important to note that these cusps, these house cusps, they do not send out energy. So if there's a cusp opposing a planet, let's say, you wouldn't talk about the cusp having any energy. It's only a receiving place. It only receives. Important to know about chart interpretation. So if you're from here, I'm going to show you the chart of Matt Damon again. And I want you to look at his second house cusp at 24 degrees, 45 minutes of Pisces. This is really interesting because he has Mars opposing it. And we've talked about how energetic Mars is. Where you find Mars in your chart, you're going to find lots of energy. And it's in the sign of Virgo. And what is Virgo? Work, the workplace. This is someone who's going to want to work. And then he also has Saturn at 21 degrees of Taurus, and it's making a sextile to this point. That 60-degree aspect that we talked about in the planets video. And then there's another sextile from the moon in Capricorn to this point as well. And if you look at these three planets, Mars, Saturn, and Moon, they're all trining. So you have Mars about 120 degrees from Saturn, Saturn about 120 degrees from the Moon, and the Moon about 120 degrees from Mars. This is, in astrology, this is what is called a grand trine. And his grand trine is hitting his 8th house, right where Mars is. What is the 8th house? Personal power, influencing other people in some way. Don't be shocked if Matt Damon someday becomes a politician, because he has this in his chart. But it's more likely that he is going to make movies until the day he dies. And it's because Saturn is about career. It's about taking on responsibility. And he has this harmonious aspect to his second house. The moon in Capricorn, which is the house of responsibility, Capricorn, again, making that sextile. So this is all really good. Someone who really takes on work, really wants to work. And then Mars, again, opposing. And then also Venus up here at 22 of Scorpio. It is trining this second house cusp, which is lots of good fortune. Things are just sort of handed to you. I mean, someone who's going to work hard and have lots of opportunity and good luck in terms of income. If I didn't know this person, that's exactly what I'd be saying about them. And anyways, Venus opposes Saturn. And this is not about a house cusp right here, but this is going to show someone who loves their job. And so this is why I'm saying Matt Damon will probably work until the day he dies. I've never seen this much Capricorn and Mars in someone's chart, and so it's pretty exaggerated. And I'm just going to show you one more thing here. Let's see. So this is Matt Damon's Wikipedia page, And if you go back to late 90s, let's say 92 or 95, let's say, he has worked every year since then, all the way through to the present. And look at all the movies he's made. And again, this page is just going to keep going. He's not going to stop working anytime soon. But I just wanted you to see how hard this person is working. And this, again, this goes back to this grand trine, second house, how important having an income and working is to this person. So that's it for today's video. We'll see you next time.